Winston Churchill was first to coin the phrase special relationship. It was 1946, shortly after World War II, and he was referring to the bond between Britain and the United States.
He recognized that the future of Great Britain, the future of the British Empire, depended on getting support from the American president, Franklin Roosevelt.
Presidential historian Tim Naftali says President Franklin Roosevelt was impressed with Churchill's doggedness.
So the two of them bonded because they both recognized a threat to civilization. And in the end, they worked successfully together to win a war.
They fought their common enemies from World War II, Japan and Nazi Germany. After Roosevelt's death, Churchill called him the greatest American friend Britain had ever known. In British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, President Ronald Reagan found his political soulmate. The two first met back in 1975 in London, and their relationship changed history. She spoke of him fondly at his 2004 funeral.
He sought to mend America's wounded spirit, to restore the strength of the free world, and to free the slaves of communism.
She was his partner in dealing with the Soviet Union and encouraged him to speak to Mikhail Gorbachev.
It was very useful for Ronald Reagan to have someone from a different country that he completely trusted, and someone who could provide him with some guidance as to how to deal with the Soviets.
Their relationship will likely be remembered as the closest transatlantic relationship between Britain and the U.S., with Thatcher years ago calling Ronald Reagan one of the greatest men of our time and one of the greatest American presidents of all time.
Which way to go?
Stay put.
After 9/11, President George W. Bush looked to his partner across the pond, British Prime Minister Tony Blair, to help fight terrorism.
I've admired him as a president, and I regard him as a friend. I have taken the view that Britain should stand shoulder to shoulder with America after September the 11th.
Blair suffered huge political costs for that. People called him a lapdog of George W. Bush.
In his memoir, Blair wrote that Bush sincerely believed in spreading freedom and democracy. Years later, President Barack Obama and Prime Minister David Cameron joined forces against terrorists in the Middle East.
There were joint operations in Afghanistan. They helped each other out in Iraq.
There was a sense of camaraderie, as well as a deep mutual respect.
It is a special relationship and an essential relationship. I believe that it is stronger than it has ever been.
Special relationships only strengthened by common enemies and common goals. Randy Kay, CNN, New York.